All right, hello, welcome to another Curmudgeons and Dragons. So we're back in our horror stories today, and I apologize for some of these coming out a little bit late. I am in the middle of moving. My studio is almost done. It's almost done. It is all in my possession.
It's just arranging it.
In my domicile, and just not plugged in or in any way that makes it useful. It's just a box of way too much podcasting shit.
Yeah, I saw it. Oh, wait. Now I see it again. I turned around and it was gone.
It's over there. It's over there.
It looks good so far. But.
So if you're confused of Josie being able to say that she saw the box of stuff here, my big surprise for the month and the thing that I was looking forward to, Josie's home from England.
Just for a bit.
Just for a bit.
Yay.
We're recording IRL. Greg's in my house.
Yes.
I haven't seen Greg in person in almost a year also. Actually, since last time I saw Josie. I think the same day.
Yeah.
And that was her little going away party. And Jim was planning on coming down and recording with us, but he's over at Origins right now.
He's too busy being a bigger nerd than we are.
Yeah.
The nerve. The audacity.
We're going to try to get him on the phone, but he's doing Origin stuff. So if you're at Origins, go find Jim and just don't even tell him how, just don't even tell him. Just go up and say hi and just stare at him and just see how that goes.
I'm sure he'll figure it out pretty quickly.
So we're behind on horror stories for the month. We're still doing the same amount. I'm going to get them out there. I'm going to surprise you guys with the schedule of when I release them because I don't know it yet.
We love a surprise.
So I will be just as surprised as y'all are. All right.
Happy Pride, everyone.
Yes.
Get closer to your microphone, bitch.
Happy Pride, everyone.
There you go.
Oh yeah, I'm within smacking range of Greg now, so I can tell him to get closer to his mic. I can actually do something about it now. Instead of just
scoot that chair in.
Instead of just death glaring at him over Zencaster.
But then the screen freezes and he can't tell anyway.
Yep. Josie, would you like to kick off our month of horror stories?
I would love to.
I wish you would.
Alrighty. So this one I've been sitting on for a little bit now. It is a month old at this point. How my group of friends that I've been DMing for 7 years now decided to spit on my face.
Wait, literally or figuratively?
Wouldn't you like to know?
Or
Let's find out.
First one, then the other.
Yes.
Oh my God.
So once again, English is not my main language, so apologies in advance for any grammatical error.
Boo, no disclaimers.
No disclaimers. I've read through this 4 or 5 times. It's fine.
And again, and I've said this on the show before, anytime that someone on Reddit says, oh, English is not my first language, I apologize for grammatical mistakes, they have way better English than anyone in the South Jersey town I lived in.
Me talk pretty one day.
I do English real good.
Do it real good. I was actually, all my cousins were like, why don't you have an accent now? It's because being surrounded by British people only made me more aggressively New Jersey.
Also, you were gone for 10 months. Relax. It takes time.
It takes time to assimilate into another culture. Unfortunately, they make fun of the way I say butter.
Well, we do that here in Jersey too.
Yeah.
No, you need to assimilate yourself in at least 7 Madonna albums before you develop a British accent out of nowhere.
Mm-hmm.
It's fine. So.
Yeah, read your fucking story, Josie.
Yeah, come on.
I've been a DM for a group of friends for a while now. Every day I always plan a little bit on my mind about the campaign and the future of the game, thinking of cool ways to make their characters feel and be awesome. After all, what's the point of playing D&D if you and your players are not having a blast? We're playing a custom-made campaign where they face off against a powerful demon entity from the other planes, where the demon divided himself in different pieces that are bonded to other creatures as a way of preserving itself, while also using those creatures to collect souls and gain power in order to come to the world as an almighty beast. Feels familiar somehow. The party is composed of 3 paladins. 2 of them are PCs, one of them is basically a DM PC, and that's only there for healing. At the start of the campaign, there was no focused healer. We didn't have the cleric, and the other paladin was more focused on control than healing, so I asked them what they wanted, and they said, another paladin. So I rolled with it.
Wait, is this Oops All Paladins?
No, there's also a rogue, a fighter, a cleric, and a mage that the group decided to adopt. So there is a full party.
So there's a bunch of stuff. There just happens to be a ton of paladins.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Along the way, at some point, they are tasked with retrieving one of those fragments from a serial killer. It's a mixture of doing detective work while also having to face an enemy that can pull them to a pocket dimension where he is the law if they trigger its traps. He uses roses as a way to force people into their world. Most of the time, they avoided the encounters with their +9 to saving throws, but from time to time, one of them fails and is sent for a fight or flight scenario in a twisted art gallery of the murder's victims.
Sorry, so far I'm down.
Yeah. It sounds cool. It sounds like he put a lot of work into it.
Yeah, that's why I'm down.
They arrive at the house of a noble that asks them for help, and one of the paladins, a devotion paladin from Paylor, decided that it's a good idea to claim he could be the person behind the murders in a less than polite and very direct way on this house. The noble asks the group to leave and let him alone with the paladin. They have a small chat, and in the end, the paladin pushes the noble too far, starting a fight where he's dealing with a noble and 2 guards at level 4. He goes down, but the noble tosses him back with the group and asks them to leave. The player at the end of the session, after making a choice that heavily impacted the group, just says, "It's what my character would do. I like to bring a little bit of chaos to the table from time to time."
Fuck you, dude.
He does this every single time. The other players don't complain because we're friends and we're quick to forgive him for that, but it's getting to a point where it becomes annoying and detrimental to the group, and it kills all the interesting little things that I had prepared for him and the group as a whole. Then there's the other one, the Conquest Paladin, who decides to roleplay him as a villain that only cares about strength and is prone to being an asshole to all the other NPCs. Usually I wouldn't mind any of those things, but the problems began when the PC playing the Paladin of Conquest decided to be the rules lawyer of my campaign and every move I made. He was also constantly complaining of how he didn't want to have NPCs on the team, and how he only wanted to interact with other players and not interact with the rest of the world. The request is not the problem itself. The issue is that he constantly interrupted the flow of combat to tell me things that I could and couldn't do, halting the game just to point out that a creature shouldn't be able to do that. I asked him multiple times on private to accept that sometimes things are the way they are, and that if he had any questions or critiques, he could leave it at the end of the campaign. Never followed my request. I asked the other 3 players, and one of them agreed on getting rid of the DMPC. 3 against 2, democracy wins. I decided to get rid of the DMPC by killing it after they intentionally mock and push the big bad evil guy, expecting to somehow be, once again, immune to consequences, especially a serial killer that its main thing is that he can set traps and then strike to secure the kill.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah.
After killing the Paladin DMPC, the same 3 players that were complaining started to say that I did it wrong and then chose to bring back the dead DMPC. "You can't just kill the character while we're making fun of the big bad evil guy. You're railroading us," said the Paladin of Devotion.
That's...
So here I am.
Wait, was that not his idea?
Yep,
Yeah.
it was. And then he's like, "You're railroading us by following what I asked."
Okay, because I thought I was following poorly for a second.
Nope.
I thought I was the asshole for a second there.
I can assure you, in this instance, you are not the asshole.
I'm just an asshole.
Yes,
Yes.
All right.
but not the one.
Today you're just some asshole.
Mm-hmm.
So there I am, with a player that constantly rolls a character that brings conflict and makes things difficult for the group, and another player that is being law enforcer to the point that is unbearable, constantly complaining that I railroad them by giving them consequences for their actions. It reaches a point where I feel physically ill when playing with them. I trusted my DM skills, and only they are the problem, but from session to session, it starts to get on my nerves. After a lot of questionable choices, dumb jokes, fun interactions, and cool PC moments, they arrive at the final boss, the serial killer. This was a fun and difficult fight, but one of the players, the rogue, which is the best player of the group when it comes to behavior and role-playing, was killed near the climax of the battle, where the group was rescued by the person that commissioned them to complete the mission. After saving the group and offering to even add the extra or reviving the fallen comrade, the Paladin of Devotion decided that he wanted to claim that the reason the Paladin DMPC and the rogue were dead was on her. The NPC, being a powerful rogue that can be pretty violent when things don't go their way, decides to first try to be polite about it, explain to them their agreement, and then reminding them that she saved their lives. The Paladin of Devotion refused to negotiate, and refused to give the woman the piece of the demon that was recovered from the serial killer after they were dead. So I stopped the game and asked the group, "Are you sure you want to do this?" "Yes," replied the Paladin of Devotion. "Are you sure? This is a high-level boss with a lot of immunities, and it's trying to avoid conflict." "Yes, I don't care. Let's go." "The rest of the team is going to participate?" "I guess," said the Paladin of Conquest. "If he attacks my friend, I'll defend him," said the cleric. "Okay." The battle goes as badly as I expected for the group to go. In only 2 turns, 3 out of 4 members were down. The Paladin of Conquest says that he is loyal to his team, and this actually makes the rogue stop. She can empathize with that and decides to give them another chance, using a special magic tattoo she has to heal the downed party. The Paladin gets back up after the rogue gives them a second chance, even going so far as to let them keep the piece of the demon, but with the warning of not using it. Then, as I get ready to finally show them the goodies for their hard work, all they need to do is allow her to use the piece of the demon for a moment. My idea was to give them the pocket dimension as a resting place, where each of them will have a room dedicated to their stories, their backgrounds, and some hidden hints to future stuff related to their characters. I dedicated 9 hours to prepare this, and then the Paladin of Devotion decides to be chaotic again.
This guy.
Yeah.
I hate this guy.
At this point, I basically asked them, please just don't. You're going to like the reward, and I want to make it special for all of you. I dedicated a lot of time to prepare it. He then replies, I don't care. This was the breaking point. I told them one of the most anticlimactic ways possible about their reward, then I refused to go into details or roleplay anymore. I don't feel like being a DM. So I decide to leave, and at this point, I'm just tired of being a DM to this group of friends, so I told them they should find a new one. It should have ended there.
There's more.
It should have ended there.
It should have ended like a while ago.
But they decided that wasn't enough. So the Paladin of Devotion texted me asking, why can't I do what I want with no consequences? That's why I play D&D. You railroad me too much and don't allow me to play. And then the Paladin of Conquest decides to go the extra and also sends me a text message with, is this game for us or for you to tell a story?
Should be a little bit of both.
Yeah.
Yeah. It would have been fair if he wasn't like, I'm gonna give you your reward, just shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
The thing that hits the hardest is that most of these people are my friends, and it's only during D&D that they become assholes. I've been dedicating myself to create a whole story about them. The serial killer was connected to the story of the rogue, and I introduced a lot of elements from the other PC's stories. But the constant critiques and complaints after every session because they wanted this, because they believe that this was better for the group, because they don't like this, because they don't want this, because the raw rules doesn't say that creatures can do this or that a role can mean this. All things that I tried to fix, but it was never enough for the Paladin of Conquest and the Paladin of Devotion. I kicked them out of the campaign. The cleric decided to leave, and with only 2 players left that weren't at all keen on playing without them, all those days of prep, planning, and creation of fun adventures just vanished into thin air. Maybe it's because I was an old friend that they thought they could do whatever they pleased without consequences, and that they could be rules lawyers, and that they could make choices for the group because it was for the best of them all. But I'm done with those 2 players, and I guess I'll have to find a new group to play D&D with.
Holy cannoli.
That's bad. So let's get a couple easy ones out of the way.
Mm-hmm.
We're gonna do a whole episode at some point after we all put some planning into it, as I know Jim has a lot to say about this too. Let's plan an episode where we get to talk about how to handle, that's what my character would do.
Yes.
People.
Because there are rare instances where that is what your character would do.
Yeah, and that's totally fine. This is not.
No.
This was bad.
No, this is
That's what I want my character to do because I like to bring a little chaos to the game.
This is the character saying it's what my player would do, and I'm about to be an asshole.
Yeah.
So that's the easy one. The not so bad one is saying all those hours of prep is gone. Now, granted, okay, so the pocket dimension stuff being specific to those players with those backstories, okay, maybe that's a little wasted.
Mm-hmm.
But like the planning that you did, when you find a group that doesn't suck, they don't know that you didn't just make it for them.
Exactly.
I think the OP's issue wasn't that you put all this time in. You put all this time in for stuff that was specific to these characters. That like they took the backstories of all of these PCs and worked it into the story, which a lot of people don't actually take the time to do, to like actually find ways to incorporate the backstories of characters into the plot of the game.
Yeah. So like you get your, it's all too easy to want to plan out your whole adventure from day one and not letting it be dynamic with decisions that get made. Out of the shows that I listen to and watch and stuff like that, the good ones separated from the great ones are the ones that do that.
Mm-hmm. For sure.
So I mean, this sounds like a great DM.
Yeah.
And and of course we're hearing the DM side, so of course the DM's going to sound great. But I mean, everything sounds like it was supposed to be a great game.
Yeah, and like the DMPCs are hard to run right. It sounds like they did a great job with that. Their players were just not too keen on it.
Mm-hmm.
And so like he said, all right, we'll axe them. And then they did.
Mm-hmm.
My issue is the one guy was like, I just want to interact with the player characters. I don't actually want to interact with the world.
Yeah.
Then why are you playing this game?
There are so many D&D board games where you can just do that.
I just want to say that
D&D
one of the
itself.
comments on this post is they should play Skyrim if that's what they want.
Yeah.
Yep.
I will never stop.
It's it's one way to deal with them.
And like, if you can find a DM who's willing to play a game without consequences, that is fantastic for you.
Good job.
But that is,
It just sounds boring.
yeah,
Yeah.
it sounds really boring.
I think what you might want to try, and if you even want to play with these players again, but what do you think if we try something like this, where like you just put that campaign on hold for a day, you do a non-canonical one shot where it's complete sandbox, whatever you want to do, no consequences, nothing's canon, and just show them how not fun that can be.
Yeah. That could work. That could also
If you're not already
backfire.
super burnt out,
Right.
too. It sounds like they
And I
were
know-
just
And I
at
know
their
that
limit.
could super backfire too, where it's
Yeah.
like they're like, oh yeah, it's exactly what I wanted. I'm like, all right, well, this ain't what I'm gonna do. So
Mhm.
now you know what to ask for. I don't know. Yeah, this is they had to go.
Yeah.
They gotta go.
Hopefully he can find another group that'll, one, appreciate the dynamic.
It's me. I'll appreciate it.
The dynamic of players and GMs, and also like recognize that, yeah, the GM put work into it. So I'm not going to flat out say, I do not care to this reward of the,
I forgot he said that.
yeah,
I
like
don't-
he literally said, I
I
don't
put a bunch of
care.
work into this. I don't care.
Be like, okay, then I don't care either. I'm going to melt your brain.
Yeah.
I was picturing the fugitive at the reservoir.
Mhm.
It's like, but I put hours of work into this campaign. I don't care.
Mhm. That sounds like they're
And
about
then he
to-
jumped as he should to freedom.
Oh, yeah.
This is a better metaphor than I thought it was going to be.
Very nice.
Worked out pretty well.
So there is like a comment or two from that the OP responded to. Someone said, this is a story that I would be intrigued to hear from the other side. The specifics in the story keep showing the pattern of NPCs significantly more powerful than the PCs to save them.
That's a valid point.
The PCs have been playing for 7 years and don't sound like the heroes from this post. It makes me wonder if that's why they're complaining about the enemy's abilities that differ from the norm or constant railroading. Also, hold your complaints till the end of the campaign. Possible OP meant session is a primary language that goes on for. The OP said, normally I would blame it on me for anything going bad at the table. I recognize some mistakes I made, like killing the but the thing that bothers me is that I allow them to do everything they come up with, and the second I give them consequences or I say no, they get upset and reply with that I railroaded them and the story has no freedom argument. The cleric, the rogue, the fighter are all great players, and even though the cleric chose to leave, he and I are still on good terms. The other two asked me if there's a way for them to finish the campaign. I told them that I had no issues. They already had adopted a mage, and the paladin was recovering from being brought back from the dead, so they're happy with that.
Okay. Super valid point that, because I forgot the 7 years part of it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So maybe this is coming to a head on their end too.
for sure.
This-
OP responds to a lot of comments, actually.
We'll have
I'm not
a link to the story in the show notes. Form your own opinion. Any parting thoughts on this one?
Be nice to your DMs. Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Yeah, just be cool.
Just if you're not gelling with a game after a few sessions, just politely leave.
And maybe if the things your character would do are against what the campaign is, maybe roll a different character. Keep rolling until you find a character that'll do that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. We're gonna talk at length about that sometime because
Eventually.
because it's such a common theme in all these stories. So we're gonna wrap this up here. Go follow us, curmudgeonsanddragons.com. All the links that I could possibly tell you to go find are on there. I'm at Jason Portizo on Instagram. Josie is at Goblin Scratches on Twitter, and Greg is in my house.
Yes.
You can come to my house and see Greg if you need to see him.
Mhm.
That's it for today. Jim, go have fun on Origins, and we'll see you in about 3 minutes when we record the next episode. Okay, bye.
The
Bye,
address
guys.
is
Thank you for listening to Curmudgeons and Dragons. Please share this with your favorite adventurers. Leave a review on Apple and follow us on social media. All links can be found at curmudgeonsanddragons.com. Practice safe adventuring, my friends.
This has been a JTP Audio podcast. Thanks for listening.